US food prices continue their upward climb for the month of February. Food prices were up 2.8% year on year. Retail egg prices have dramatically surged, jumping almost 60% from February last year due to ongoing bird flu outbreaks. And prices for supermarket food purchases were up just under 2% in February compared to a year ago, while restaurant purchases prices were nearly 4% higher than last February. And those tariffs are concerning the hospitality industry as a whole here in the US. The sector relies heavily on food and beverage imports from abroad, which means the tariffs could really bite. More on tariffs and restaurants, let's go to Pooja Nair. She's the partner and chair of the Food, Beverage and Hospitality Department at the law firm Ervin Cohen Jessup. Thanks so much for your time. Now first, what are some of the ingredients likely to be affected by this latest round of tariffs, and how has anticipation of those tariffs impacted businesses and their strategies for this year?
So I'm based in California, and thanks for having me on the show. And I would say that from a Californian perspective, especially, Mexican produce is the number one concern that I'm hearing from my clients. The other products, so specifically Mexican produce, including avocados, fruit, and then there's also concerns about this affecting imported beef, seafood, sugar, and some spices as well.
And how have consumers reacted so far to their favourite items costing more or potentially being taken off the menu? Are restaurants and clubs already seeing a slowdown in traffic?
You know, I think that the way that restaurants tend to work, especially smaller restaurants, is a lot of them are really market to table. And so restaurant menus can evolve. I think it really depends on the size of the restaurant. But restaurants have already, I think because they haven't recovered even though it's been 5 years from the COVID pandemic, there's already been a trend of decreasing the number of items on the menu. And I think that's only going to continue.
So when you say it depends on the restaurant or the size of the restaurant, would you say that it's the smaller restaurants that are going to be impacted more by these tariffs rather than the larger, more chain-like restaurants that have bigger purchasing power?
I think that the restaurants with bigger purchasing power also have more storage space, and they have items on their menu that could be frozen or kept for longer. Smaller restaurants have a smaller space, and so there's more turnover of the ingredients, and they're not able to essentially stock up on some things because they tend to buy exactly what they need because of their margins. But I think that both, from my clients, range from small, someone owning a single restaurant to larger chains and restaurant groups, and I think everyone is bracing for an impact.
And the hospitality industry has already faced inflation and labour shortages. How do these tariffs add to those existing struggles?
I think that it's inflation, a labor shortage, and also an increase in the minimum wage. Here, the FAST Act in California raised the minimum wage for certain fast food and quick service restaurants to $20 an hour. So I think that this is just adding to it, but I also think that a lot of restaurants are taking a pragmatic approach right now and are taking more of a wait and see because there's so much uncertainty as to what tariffs will actually go into effect and for how long, that I'm not seeing a lot of people buying in advance, buying products in advance in anticipation of the tariffs or changing the menus right now.
Right. How much of a silver lining could there be here? I mean, could, new opportunities for local producers, food and wineries eventuate out of a situation like this? And does it give perhaps chefs an opportunity to be a little bit more creative with their menu offerings?
I would say that in general, the restaurant industry is incredibly, incredibly resilient, and I think that will continue. And so I think that restaurant owners are optimists. You have to be to open a restaurant these days, and I think they will find a way to make the best of whatever happens. I think that there has been, in general, a trend of looking at, especially in smaller restaurants, of looking at buying locally, utilizing farmers markets, getting to know local producers, and I think that will continue. I think that a big impact will be if the alcohol tariffs go into effect, the 200% on imported wines from some countries. I think that will be something that people will have to deal with. And I think, for example, some restaurants that are themed very specifically, such as Mexican restaurants with a specific European wine offerings, those will have to radically reconstruct their menus for customers.
Are there options for restaurants to lobby for policy changes, and do industry leaders see any potential government relief on the horizon?
I don't think that anyone right now is predicting or is able to predict exactly what will happen. The National Restaurant Association, which I think you quoted earlier, they are probably the most influential lobbying group on behalf of restaurants, and they've been very active in trying to talk not only to the president but also to lawmakers that may be able to lobby for them. So they are very much trying to push and educate both the public and the government on the effect of these tariffs on the industry. And I think people are aware that the restaurant industry was one of the hardest, if not the hardest hit due to the COVID pandemic. And there is that sympathy and that understanding that restaurants are the small businesses that are in every community. And so I think that it's possible, but I think that there are so many products and so many, not just food, but also construction materials that affect restaurants, that I don't see a stoppage that would mean that there's no impact on restaurants.
All right, Pooja Nair, we'll have to leave it there. Really appreciate your time on the program tonight.
Thanks, Sally. Appreciate it.